I like it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's hop in here with the flurry. So I want to begin our journey before we get into your work. I always start with this question to get off the ground and running. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing our lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach life today?
So the relationships and the connections in the family that I had were the three biggest ones. So when COVID happened, schools obviously kind of shut down, everything went remote. So I was a junior in high school when that happened, 2020. And my parents were like, well, if everything's shut down over here and like nobody's allowed to like go out and do anything, then we'll just go do stuff with our own family. So my mom's from Arizona and she's the oldest of 10. So there's a lot of siblings, and a lot of them, we all went down to her parents' house in Arizona, and we just had family on family on family all at the same house, just like doing school, living together, and just kind of like we made our own like little metropolis, if you will.
Yeah.
Just, and that was what we did. We lived there for like a month when that happened. And then we went back, finished a little bit of school. And then my grandparents have a large piece of property out in the boonies in Colorado. That's just like the mountains, their backyard. And my great great grandpa was the one that built it back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's super off the grid. So we just went there the rest of the summer and just hung out there. And so it was having these family ties and connections and relationships that allowed us not to be maybe isolated from the rest of the world, but not from each other.
Yeah.
And that was what helped us.
So you are ultimately the guy that recalibrates people's identity, gets their dreams going. So I want to know exactly how you would synthesize all of that for a bunch of 13-year-old brains at career day to school. How do you explain what you do on a daily basis?
Well, if anybody's seen The Lion King, one of my favorite movies of all time, I think we've all seen it. Second song in the movie, I Can't Wait to Be King. In a nutshell, we all have a dream. We all had this belief when we were younger. We didn't have a lot of labels. It was just like, it was us and we dreamed big. That's why kindergartners always like, what do you want to do? And they throw out the craziest ideas.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the way, you have this Simba moment where you have an experience that makes you stop believing and you start running from everything that you once dreamed of. And then it takes a while of working with people. So in this case, for Simba, it's Rafiki. Rafiki comes in and he has this transformational moment and then he comes back. So I like to call myself the Rafiki or the MLK of this new generation, is like helping them to dream again. Basically, in a nutshell, for 13-year-olds, that's probably the most simple way I would
That,
put
that
it.
totally. What a great way of weaving that metaphor. So let's go back to your beginning. Speaking of being unbridled, that wander wonder. What did you want to be as a kid? What was your dream gig?
I mean, firefighting sounded dope. It was like you got to play with fire, and you got to wear some cool stuff. But younger, I would say when I got to like teen years, like obviously wanted to make some money. I wanted to do PT for a long time actually, because I had suffered from an injury and I'd been through the PT rehabilitation process, and working with people was something that I loved. And I thought that was a great fit for me. So that's what I dreamed of doing for a long time. Didn't end up happening. I'm doing something what, in my opinion, is a lot better than that now, but that's what it wanted to be for a long time.
So all of these seeds are planted early on in our lives, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that ultimately are harvested into who we become in life. What were those
Right.
early seeds? Where were you born and raised? What was it about your family and friends and your environment that allowed you to be kind of this gatekeeper to help people get to who they want to be again?
Yeah. I grew up in Utah, and wonderful family, was always like never had to go without, like was very like just a nice comfortable middle class home. And I was, if I were to show you pictures looking back, I looked completely different. I was a scrawny, tiny little kid, and I want to say that I got bullied, but I got picked on as a kid. And so I was that way in junior high, and then taking that into high school. That's when I suffered from this injury, and then that's what put me in the weight room, was just trying to get myself back to where I used to be because I played sports. And I noticed when I got into the gym and started spending more time there, there were these people in there that I was like, I want that. Like, I don't have that, but yet they seem to like have it all. Like they get the respect, like everybody looks at them. They seem to like command a room, and I was like, to me, I didn't have any of that, and so I was like, that's what I want. So in short, I became the gym bro in high school. Had a crazy diet, thought about competing in bodybuilding competitions, and just went insane. And it worked. I got the respect, the attention, the praise, the accolades, everything. But yet on the inside, everything was still a mess. That part wasn't solved. What I thought would be an outward solution to an inward problem is not at all what happens and what I see so many people doing. And so eventually you go on a track for years like this, and then you meet some cool people who see more in you that you don't believe in yourself, which is essentially what happened. And one of my best friends, she was like, you need to write down a list of every positive gift, quality, talent, characteristic, and attribute that you have. Write it down on a piece of paper so that this is ingrained into you who you are, whether God told you it, whether somebody else told you this, or you inherently know this about yourself, but you choose not to remember it. So I wrote them all down, and from that, that was a huge pivot point into seeing who do I have the capacity to be and what am I. That's not an external label on who I am, and that was catapult for me.
So we're always standing on the shoulders of giants to get to where we want to go. Who is that inspirational force been in your life that's allowed you to not only help people find their dreams, but live your dream, be who you are, find your place on this planet? Who's that hero for you?
Mm. To be honest, the very quiet, small ones. I work for an organization called HXP. It stands for Humanitarian Experience. Pretty much, we do faith-centered humanitarian international service projects all around the globe. And the people that I all work with are about my age, but they are so high caliber and so driven in each of their own specific ways. They're all shooting for a dream. They're all good at something, and they have a vision about where they want to go. And now imagine of about 100 people in the same room that just think and feel and believe that way. It's pretty cool to work in an environment like that. And so it hasn't really been one person.
Yeah.
It's been interesting that it's been a collective body of people that haven't yet made it, but are striving to make it and do the same thing that I want to do. So that's what I would say.
So the one thing about life is there's these little moments of kindness that people can bestow upon you that can change your trajectory. I remember when I was in the eighth grade, I was in my hood phase and the mullet and the whole thing, and there was a gym coach. He was a Vietnam vet. His name was Dave Rabori. He used to always call us derelicts, and he was that kind of guy. He just was always the guy that would beat you down, but there was a meaning behind it. I remember he pulled me
Mhm.
aside in a real human moment at one point and said, Domino, I want you to turn this around. There's more in there. And I will always remember that it was that one person, very few at that point in my life, was really seeing into the veneer, past the veneer. Has there been a moment like that in your life where someone did something that completely changed their trajectory? Just pure kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had an ecclesiastical leader when I served as a missionary for the church that I'm affiliated with right now. And I was living in South Africa for a couple of years. And what's called a mission president is somebody that oversaw the about 160 missionaries or so that we were all in this mission or demographic. And he was a native to South Africa, but him and his wife had a capacity to see greatness in other people that they couldn't yet see. And so as a young 18, 19, 20-year old, when this was happening, that I had just graduated high school and again come from that gym insecure stage that I just talked about. And it's a gift to be able to see other people how they don't see themselves. And I think they both have that gift. And taking me aside and seeing me and believing me and putting me in hard situations or hard circumstances with companions or areas or different assignments that to me would have felt and did feel overwhelming and stretching and asking myself, how in the world am I going to do this? But it was their vision and then placement in specific areas, which required a lot of growth that I didn't yet see, but they saw it and they put me in each one of those. And then by the end, it was after 2 years, you come back and you're like, wow, thanks for seeing something in me. So maybe it wasn't a specific moment, but it was an accumulation of moments and experiences over time because of what they saw that did that.
So I always hear South Africa is just there's a level of magic, there's a level of
Mm,
wonder that exists there. And I would imagine being in that area and having that experience would just compound the level of you probably feeling that on a deep level.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you got the Willy Wonka golden ticket right now and you could meet anybody on the planet, spend some time with
Mhm.
them. Somebody, and it doesn't have to be, and as you mentioned with your heroes and inspirations, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a big, huge public figure, but somebody that might help you on your journey that you
Mhm.
can meet and talk to. Who would you love one person on the planet to talk to?
This person's dead, but
That's fine. We can do the
I
ghost.
would I would say coming back to South Africa, Nelson Mandela
Yeah.
would be quite the figure to go and either him or MLK.
Yeah.
They both just had such a like in the face of adversity, but to dream big and believe in things that nobody else ever thought was deemed possible. And in a stage of life right now where I'm trying to dream big and help other people to dream big, those kinds of people are like, I would love just to sit in your presence and get like, there's a quote that I love that says, be the kind of person where others could warm their hands by the fire of your spirit. And to get like a fire reignited in my dreams and then the things, because I'll be honest, like I have thoughts that want to make me quit and give up all the time. And everybody will if you're in pursuit of a dream that seems a little bit out there. But I would love to feel like the fire from their spirits and like, yeah, just their souls and the power that they had to go out and do things that so many people in this world would say that's not going to happen.
You know what's amazing about figures like that? Having a jazz radio show, I'll talk to jazz elders. And they have that they hum at a different level. They're like a deity on this planet. They're
Yeah.
like all of the Jedis in Cloud City and Empire. They
Hmm.
just have this level of being able to look down and have this wisdom, but they're grounded and they don't like put it in your face. They just are who they are, and you
Yeah.
can't help but feeling that level of energy. And especially for Mandela, after 27 years, not only did he get out when he thought maybe he was going to die, he got to
Hmm.
see the change that he actually fought for. Like
Yeah.
everything in that world was turned upside down because of what he did. That's
Yep.
crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of having this dream and having these notions of changing the world and making people dream bigger, what is that energy every day for you when the alarm clock goes off to put your feet on the ground, to do this job at a high level, take care of your own soul, and to keep that vision intact?
There's a tangible feeling in my like chest that when I started getting led towards a path of like coaching and speaking and making this more public, that I had very strong feelings and impressions. Like I needed to get this out there to more people because I knew what it did for me. I was seeing what it was doing for the people that I was working with. And like any product or thing that you love, something that's changed you, if it really has changed you, you want to go out and share it with more people. And so the fire is like, how many more people do I get to impact today? Not because it's about me, but it's about the little good that I'm trying to do for somebody else. And when you can look back at the end of the day and see a little bit of like, yeah, we made some impact. Maybe it was just one person, but I know that one person was grateful. And there's nothing more satisfying in the world than getting out of yourself and helping somebody else to be in a better state than they were before, leave them better than you found them.
Yeah.
And that's why I love what I do. And that's all the fire I need and will carry me the rest of forever.
Speaking of that fire, if you had a dream tonight, ran into that young version of you that wanted to fight fires, and you could show that version of you like a coffee table book of your life so far, the choices you've made, what you're doing, the work you're doing, would that young version of you believe that you're at this point in life and you've lived this existence?
Probably not.
Would you give any advice? Would you say anything to that young version?
I would say dream big, fail big. That's one of my biggest ones. And you only got one life, but if you live it right, once is enough. And with only one life, how many people would just try and settle for the money gig, a nice, comfortable 9 to 5, and they live happy, great lives. There's nothing wrong with that. For I, for me, and even right now, it's getting out of a stage of comfort and comfortability because we love comfort. Everything around us and geared to society is geared towards how can we make you the most comfortable with doing the least amount of work with getting it with the fastest results possible. That's a world that we live in.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would tell that younger self, you dream big and you go get it and don't you let anybody else tell you that you can't. Because the only people that are telling you that you can't are the people that don't believe that they can.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. You've traveled around the world, you've been to different places. What was one of the first places that you went to that just totally gave you a perspective of not only what you're doing, but the country you live in and kind of gave you that global feeling that made you feel like you're part of something bigger?
My first country was South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was probably one of the most memorable for me because you have a people. So I'm huge on victim mentality and victim mindset. That's something that I'm kind of in the works of writing a book right now, kind of about that. And you could take an entire continent of people that to the rest of the outside world outside of Africa would say are victims to terrible circumstances. They have terrible living conditions, and they say, man, your life must be so terrible. But they don't think that. They are a people that hold in my mind, they are the epitome of what it means to be a victor in what other people would call a victim circumstance or situation. Because when you get to a country like that, and when you say first thing after your name, you introduce yourself, how are you doing? And they say can't complain when they have everything in the world that they could complain about. That anybody else in this first world would. They see every situation and they because you have to ask yourself if you're somebody who believes that worth or happiness or prosperity is dictated by circumstances, then why do the poorest people live the happiest lives?
Yeah.
You got to riddle me that stat
Yeah.
because you have people that have it all but that claim them but they're victims like they're unhappy and they're not great with where they're at yet you could go to a people that has the exact opposite but they're victors
Yeah.
through and through and rain or shine poverty or not they have the most grit willpower joy
Yeah.
that I have ever seen.
So when you look on your life, look back on everything that's happened, what are you ultimately the proudest of or the happiest about?
Doing good and following what I feel like God's called me to do and just serving. I feel like it's the what some might say is I've worked a lot with teenagers and youth and whatnot, especially that have struggles with addictions and substances and whatnot. I I don't remember if I said this or somebody else said this, but the thought came one time that service was like the gateway drug to heaven. It's better than any high. It lasts. It's so much fuller,
Yeah.
and it's not about you. It's about somebody else. And so just being able to look back and be proud of like I just tried to help. I just tried to use the gifts and the talents that I feel like God gave me and go out and make a difference. Because how come I was so blessed to live in a nice, comfortable middle class home in Utah with all these opportunities available to me and then not doing anything about it? It's it's time to get out there and make some things happen.
So let's dig a little bit further into this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends,
Mm.
clients, everyone that knows you in varying capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am somebody who cares a lot about people. And you could play with the word sensitive or in tune, but I'm very in tune with emotionally how I am and my cognitive processes. I'm very self aware. I'm extremely intentional and loyal because relationships mean a lot to me. I am a great communicator. I feel like I can effectively convey what I'm thinking, especially in having hard conversations. I'm a great listener. I'm also extremely curious, which leads me to love being authentic and genuine and getting to the nitty gritty of what people struggle with. And I am a dreamer. I'm also imperfect and flawed, but I don't let those stop me. And it's great because it makes me more relatable with people because we're all flawed in that way. That's that's my perception of me.
So let's say we reconvene in 10 years from now. What's going to be like the top list of things that you're going to tell me happened that's been a part of your growth and where you want to go as a dreamer and helping people dream?
Successful and happy father and husband, a an international speaker, an author, best selling if I'm dreaming big, and the greatest LDS coach in history is what I would say.
So if anybody wants to dig in further, reach out, connect, how can they do that?
Instagram is my most popular platform, just underscore Brayden.Black. That's where I post all my content and do a lot of this inspirational and mentality whatnot. People are always free to send me a DM and I'll always reach out.
Okay. We probably need to get off here so you can run out there and get all this taken care of. You got a lot on your list. Man, this has been great. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Thank
Best
you,
of luck
Joe.
with everything. I love this. It's the future in front of us. We need it more than ever. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Joe, you asked some amazing questions that had sparked some great conversation. So thank you. I love the work that you're doing and keep dreaming big and blessing souls.
Yes, sir. Thank you.